Want to know the story of the first bishop in Africa? This is Caran Histories, and in this series, we'll talk about slaves who later rose to prominence. And in this episode, we'll talk about someone who made a difference in this generation. And it is my honor to introduce to you, drum roll please, Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowther. In this episode, we'll talk about major highlights of Ajayi's life, birth, and early childhood. Zoom in! Samuel Ajayi Crowther, remembered as the first African Anglican bishop, was born in a small Yoruba town of Oshogun in present-day Oyo State, Nigeria, in the year 1809. His birth name was Ajayi, a Yoruba name given to a child meaning born facing downwards. Ajayi grew up happily in his hometown. Slavery. At the age of about 12, Ajayi's life took a terrible turn when, in 1821, his village was attacked by slave raiders during one of the many slave raids which were common in Yoruba land at the time. Ajayi, his family members, and many villagers were captured and put in a Portuguese ship bound for the Americas. On the way, God intervened, and the ship containing the slaves was intercepted by the British Navy, which had abolished slave trade 2 years before Ajayi's birth and was patrolling the West African waters in order to suppress it. The freed slaves, including Ajayi, were taken to Freetown, a city in Sierra Leone, which was a British colony established as a harbor for freed slaves. Though young Ajayi was free, the event of being sold to slavery burned like a flame in his heart. Free life, education, and conversion. In Sierra Leone, Ajayi came in contact with the Church Missionary Society, an evangelical Anglican body devoted to Christian missions. The CMS enrolled him in one of their schools, where he learned how to read and write. And in 1825, after embracing Christianity, Ajayi Crowther was baptized and given the name Samuel Crowther. Samuel came from the Bible, and Crowther was chosen in honor of a CMS clergyman or sponsor. From then on, he was known as Samuel Ajayi Crowther. Ajayi was a remarkable student who had an eye for languages and theology. He later enrolled at Fora Bay College, the first Western-style university in Africa, founded 2 years after his baptism in Freetown. There, he studied English, Latin, Greek, and theology while developing his gift for African languages. His intelligence made him to stand out, or his intelligence rather, made him to stand out. And soon he caught the attention of European missionaries. Missionary work. In the year 1841, Samuel took part in the famous Niger expedition, organized by the British government and supported by the CMS. The aim was to explore the River Niger, open up trade, and establish Christian missions inland. Although deaths from malaria and resistance from local rulers caused the failure of the expedition, it was a developmental experience for Ajayi, stirring up a vision of evangelizing his own people. Major achievements. Later, after furthering his theology studies in London, he was ordained a deacon in 1843 and later a priest in 1845 at Christ Church Cathedral in England. Quite a remarkable achievement for a former slave. As a missionary, Jai recognized the importance of language in evangelism. He worked hard to give the Yoruba language a written form. He developed a standardized Yoruba orthography, which led to the production of the first Yoruba grammar book in 1852. He also translated parts of the Bible and Book of Common Prayer into Yoruba, enabling people from the Yoruba tribe or people who can speak Yoruba to read the scripture in their native tongue. His greatest achievement came in 1884 when he completed and published full Yoruba Bible translation, a monumental contribution to the African Christianity. In recognition of his dedication and leadership, Ajayi Crowther was consecrated as the first African Anglican bishop in 1864, which made Ajayi feel elated. He was consecrated at Canterbury Cathedral in England. His area of responsibility covered the Niger territories, making him the first black bishop in the worldwide Anglican community. This was a groundbreaking moment, symbolizing that Africans could lead the church, manage missionary work independently of Europeans. Bishop Crowther threw himself into the work, traveling widely across the Niger Delta and along the Niger River, establishing schools, missions, and churches. He also trained African clergymen to continue the work of evangelism. Obstacles. Crowther's missionary work was not without difficulties. He faced enormous challenges from local resistance, Islamic opposition in the Northern Territories, and the harsh environment that he faced and often claimed lives through malaria and other diseases. The even more painful was the opposition he faced within the CMS. itself. Many European missionaries held racist attitudes and believed that Africans were not capable of leadership. In his later years, some CMS officials accused him of inefficiency and undermined his authority. Gradually, many of his African assistants and clergy were replaced by Europeans, a move that deeply hurt Crowther, who had worked tirelessly to build to African leadership in the church. The struggle reflected the border between African initiative and European control in 19th century missions. Personal life. In his personal life, Ajayi married Asano, a fellow freed slave and alumna of Forabe College, who later became known as Susan Crowther. Together, they had several children. Among them was Denson Coates Crowther, the most notable child, and other children like Elijah Crowther, Thomas Babington Crowther, Charlotte Omoyeni Crowther, etc. Final years. After decades of tireless work, Ajayi's health declined. In his final years, he was saddened by the way his authority was reduced, but he remained faithful to his calling. And on the 31st of December 1891, Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowther became memory and passed on peacefully in Lagos at the age of 82 years in Lagos, Nigeria. He was buried at Ajele Cemetery, Lagos. Legacy. Ajayi Crowther's legacy is very powerful. He rose from slavery, from battered to bishop, and is remembered as the pioneer of African Christianity. He's also the one that made the written version of the Yoruba language. He'll ever be remembered by the Yoruba people and other tribes of the entity now known as Nigeria. That was why the Supreme Council of the Church of Nigeria in 2005 created Ajayi Crowther University in Oyo State in honor of his hard work, dedication, commitment, and legacy. Thanks for watching, and I'll continue in the next episode. God bless you, and I hope you have a nice day.